What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and share this video because what's unfolding in South Africa right now is as explosive as it is politically dangerous. We're talking about the growing storm around Minister Gayton McKenzie, a man whose name is really far from controversy, and the calls for President Cyril Ramaphosa to take decisive action against him over allegations of racism that have now burst into the national spotlight. This is not just another political spat, this is a fire threatening to burn right through the heart of South Africa's fragile social cohesion. The uproar began when McKenzie, leader of the Patriotic Alliance and newly appointed minister in the Government of National Unity, made a series of remarks that critics say crossed the line from political rhetoric into outright racial prejudice. The comments, delivered both at public gatherings and amplified on social media, were viewed by many as inflammatory and divisive, targeting specific communities in a way that has sparked outrage across political lines. Within hours, opposition parties, civil society organizations, and human rights groups were demanding accountability, with some going as far as to say that McKenzie should be stripped of his ministerial post altogether. Pressure on President Ramaphosa is mounting by the day. In a country still deeply scarred by the legacy of apartheid, allegations of racism against a senior member of the cabinet are not just politically awkward, they are a potential powder keg. Critics argue that failing to act decisively would send a dangerous message that racial intolerance is tolerated in the upper echelons of government. Opposition leaders have been quick to pounce, accusing Ramaphosa of hypocrisy, pointing out that his administration has been vocal about promoting unity and social justice while seemingly silent when the alleged offenders are part of the governing coalition. In Parliament, the calls for action have grown louder. Leaders from the Democratic Alliance, the Economic Freedom Fighters, and smaller parties have all spoken out, some demanding an urgent debate on McKenzie's conduct. The DA spokesperson on social cohesion described McKenzie's remarks as deeply harmful to our nation's fragile unity and warned that allowing him to remain in office would embolden extremists on all sides. The EFF, never one to mince words, went further, accusing McKenzie of peddling dangerous racial propaganda and calling for his immediate dismissal. Beyond the political theater, ordinary South Africans are weighing in. Social media has become a battlefield of opinion, with hashtags calling for McKenzie's resignation trending alongside those defending him as a truth-teller unfairly targeted by political rivals. In townships, suburbs, and rural communities alike, debates are raging in cafes, shebeens, and WhatsApp groups about where the line between free speech and hate speech should be drawn, and whether McKenzie has crossed it. For Ramaphosa, this is a nightmare scenario. The Government of National Unity is already a delicate balancing act, bringing together former rivals under one fragile roof. Removing McKenzie could destabilize the coalition, especially given the Patriotic Alliance's growing influence in certain regions and its strategic value in securing political support. On the other hand, keeping him in the cabinet risks alienating not just opposition voters but also ANC supporters who feel the president must take a firm stand against racism in all its forms. Insiders say the president has been in closed-door consultations with senior ANC figures, legal advisors, and coalition partners to assess the political cost of each option. Some within the ANC are reportedly urging Ramaphosa to issue a public reprimand but stop short of removing McKenzie, a move they believe could defuse the situation without blowing up the coalition. Others argue that anything less than dismissal will look like a capitulation to political expediency over principle, a decision that could haunt Ramaphosa in the 2026 elections. Meanwhile, McKenzie himself is not backing down. In a fiery statement posted on his social media accounts, he accused his critics of twisting his words and launching a smear campaign to discredit him. He insists that his remarks were taken out of context and that he was speaking hard truths about issues affecting South Africans. Supporters within the Patriotic Alliance have rallied to his defense, calling the outrage manufactured and politically motivated. They argue that McKenzie has long been a straight talker unafraid to confront uncomfortable realities, and that silencing him would be an attack on free expression. But the controversy has already gone beyond McKenzie's words. It has become a litmus test for Ramaphosa's leadership. The president has often spoken about his vision for a united, non-racial South Africa, but critics say that vision rings hollow if he fails to address racism within his own cabinet. The stakes are higher than just one minister's career. This is about the moral credibility of the government itself. Civil society groups are now taking matters further. The South African Human Rights Commission has been urged to investigate the remarks, and petitions demanding McKenzie's removal have garnered thousands of signatures in just days. Religious leaders, student organizations, and community activists have issued joint statements calling for decisive action, warning that inaction could inflame racial tensions at a time when the country can least afford it. International observers are also watching closely. South Africa's global reputation as a champion of human rights and reconciliation is part of its diplomatic currency, and incidents like this risk undermining that image. If the government is seen as tolerating racism at the highest levels, it could damage relations with key partners and tarnish the legacy of leaders like Nelson Mandela who fought to build a non-racial democracy. As the pressure cooker builds, Ramaphosa finds himself walking a tightrope. Every day that passes without a clear decision risks deepening the perception of indecisiveness, a criticism that has dogged him throughout his presidency. Yet, moving too hastily could fracture the coalition and open a new front of political instability. This is the kind of test that defines presidencies, not just how leaders respond to crises, but what those responses reveal about their core values. For now, the country waits, divided and anxious, as the president weighs his next move. Will he act swiftly to uphold the principles of unity and equality, even at the risk of political fallout? Or will he prioritize the fragile arithmetic of coalition politics over the moral imperative to confront racism head-on? Whatever he decides, one thing is certain: this is a moment South Africans will remember for years to come. And for Gayton McKenzie, the storm is far from over.